future. We're talking real money.
Hello, friends. Welcome to another exciting edition of the Talking Real Money podcast. I am Don McDonald. Over there, 3,000 miles away across the room, the biggest room. This is the biggest room in the world. It's a 3,000-mile long room. As a matter of fact, the gray panels are identical. Look at that. The sound panels.
I hate those lights, though. They're just...
Well, I hate the lights there. I have a nice LED light in my end of the room because I go for the mood.
Feel like I'm in the operating room here or something. So yeah.
And speaking of kind of an eclectic mood, there was a conference last month in Berkeley, California, of all places, which you know it's going to be a strange conference if it's in Berkeley. That's Tom's hometown. So
it is. Indeed. Yeah.
And this
fits, doesn't it? It really works.
This was a conference, and I found it fascinating. It was about prediction markets, about predicting the future, and about what we call the wisdom of crowds. What that means is that in aggregate, when you get a lot of people making bets on a certain result, that you end up with a very accurate number at the end. As a matter of fact, there have been multiple studies done that have shown that presidential betting markets, where people bet on who's going to be the president or who's going to be the candidate, are far more accurate than the polls.
Exit polls.
No, than the actual pre-polls.
I see that where they go out and do a survey, where they call you up and say, "Hey, Don, who are you voting for?" Okay.
Yeah. And this is a conference of young math geeks, and apparently math geeks can be kinky too, because this business conference, they were betting on everything at the conference. This was to show that how accurate this stuff is. And when the conference started, one of the things they voted on was the likelihood of an orgy occurring at the conference. Now, that's something I have never seen at any business conference.
Let me see a show of hands. How many of you have been to a business conference where there was a 28% chance of an orgy?
Well, that was the initial bet.
I'm not seeing a lot of hands. Okay,
28% was the day one bet on the chance of an orgy. By the time they got to know each other a little better, day two, the odds went up to 47%.
Wow!
By day three, they went over 100. They went to 100% because the night after day two, there was an orgy.
The author does write in the orgy, and I hope he's being honest. Says, "No, I was not invited."
Not invited. Yeah. I just think this thing is funny. That part was funny.
Yeah.
They call the conference part Math Olympiad and part Burning Man. But what is fascinating about this conference and this concept is that it is proving to be, and as a matter of fact, if we think about it for a minute, it has proven to be very, very accurate. And I'm talking about the largest betting market in the world, not Las Vegas, not sports books, not election books, not any other conventional gambling, not horse races or lotteries. I'm talking about the biggest betting market in the world, and that is the global stock market, in which tens of millions of people every minute of every day are making bets on what individual stocks are going to do, what the markets are going to do. And when you have that many people making bets, what they are doing at the time is likely to be very accurate. As a matter of fact, there's even a theory named after it. It's called the theory of efficient markets, Tom.
Yeah, and listen to some of the numbers. It's astounding. You mentioned millions of trades between buyers and sellers. You mentioned that those trades, they take in all the news, the expectations, and information into prices. And that number, okay, you ready? $675 billion a day. This goes back to 2022, according to dimensional funds. That's a lot of money moving around where people are saying, hey, this is a reason that Ford should be higher than, well, not Tesla, but you get the point, right? These are people voting every moment on the economy, on companies, all that. And as you say, it creates by the measure of academics, a very efficient marketplace.
And it makes perfect sense when you think about it, when you take it back to its ultimate point, which is a binary choice. If you just have a binary choice, Trump versus Biden or whatever it is, like it was in 2020, when you're dealing with a binary choice, well, your bet is no more likely to be right than my bet. But when you take the bets of everybody out there, it turns out that the betting markets showed Biden winning by the way, by about exactly the number of electoral votes he won by. The markets were that efficient.
And this is the point, right?
Yeah, which means
you get that.
Here's the problem then with you now thinking, I can pick a better stock. I can pick the right time to get into the market. I can pick the right time to get out. You are just you, and your odds are with any one given stock no better than 50-50.
Yeah, and speaking of 50-50, today, if you look at the world of investing, almost half of the money in mutual funds and exchange traded funds are in a product that agrees with this overall philosophy. That is, they're index or index-like or non-predictive. 20 years ago, it was 1 out of $20. So if you're still part of the 1 out of 20, right? I mean, pardon me, the massive amount of money 20 years ago was people bought stocks thinking they could see the future. They invested in fund managers who charged more, but told you, here's what the future will look like, and here's why you got to give me money. They believed in a guru of some kind that could help them lead the way. Now, the bigger money is all going into this more indexing style. I hate to call it passive because it's not necessarily passive, but it is non-predictive. That gets back to this aggregation of information that you're really talking about, Don.
Yeah, and here's the thing, is that when we look back at the total returns for almost any market, and Dimensional's done work in this with the total market, the standard, a lot of people use the Standard and Poor's 500, and let's just use the S&P, which is the thing that everybody kind of agrees is the market, but it's really not. But let's use it because it's the easiest number to track. If the S&P 500 started in 1928, through the end of December 2022, the average annualized return for the S&P 500 was 9.82%. Now, let's just round that to 10. If you invested over that period, let's just say you were very long-lived, you put money in the market in 28 years, would you have been happy through all the trials and tribulations of the market? Wouldn't you have been thrilled to have received an average return over that time of 10% per year? And you didn't have to do anything.
But you didn't have to do anything, but you had to live through. You had to hold firm through world wars, the Great Depression, the Great Recession, upheaval of all kinds, and people saying, and this is the part where you really should pay close attention. I'm kidding. Don't pay any attention at all. After these things happen, the people that say, here's what's next, because they don't know anything more about what's next than you do. That's the key, Don.
And the point of this is that throughout all of that, there were periods when the market was rising and declining, and the crowd was right at the time, given the future, the expectations of that brief period of time. But you tend not to follow the crowd. And we've seen this over and over and over again, where people call and say, well, the market's going up, but the economy is terrible. I'm out of stocks right now. Why are the stocks going up? Why is the market not doing what I wanted to do? Because I was knocking.
Oh, you scared me. I thought
somebody was trying to come in. Come in.
Well, no guest today, but okay.
No, I get a little emotional about this stuff because people are saying, I don't want to invest because it feels bad now. Well, yeah, but you're just one person. The market itself is looking at data that you don't have. There are thousands or millions of people who have data you don't have. And they're saying, I see things getting better in the future, so I'm going to start buying stocks before you do, because you don't have that ability. Just follow the crowd. Just follow them. They're usually right. Not always, but they're right enough that you're going to be just fine. Don't be greedy.
Well, and I think the key thing here, you mentioned 1928 through the end of 2022 with almost a 10% return for stocks. Why? Well, stocks are riskier, right? These are investments in companies, and you've been paid for taking that risk. Not every year, and there are times when it feels horrible. You can remember the headline, death of equities back in the early 80s. We can give you all kinds of time periods where people said, do not put money in stocks anymore because the stock market hasn't worked. So I do think the thing you can trust out of all this, Don, yes, is that people generally have been right because they've trusted history. They've trusted academic work that has said kind of over the long haul, here's what it all means. And they managed to do that, hold on through those very difficult times.
Yeah, they've also trusted the logic of the markets. And this is the thing that everybody misses. The markets are not a zero-sum casino. They're not a game that's stacked in the house's favor. They're not. The markets are merely a numeric reflection of the economy of humanity, both nationwide and worldwide. And the economy of humanity, it can be proven by, there was even a 2,000-year study done by a guy in Scotland that showed the global economy has consistently grown decade after decade, not necessarily year after year, but decade after decade over the course of 2,000 years. I think that's a reasonably good thing on which to bet.
That's a fairly long track record, although when you consider the history of the world, it's still fairly limited. But,
Well, but the problem is prior to a few thousand years ago, maybe 5 or 6, 8,000 years ago. Okay, let's say 8. There was no global economy.
Unless you were a shark or something, they were around, right?
There were people.
Oh, okay, but okay.
There were people, but they were just they were sustenance farmers or hunters. There wasn't a trackable economy. It wasn't until about 2,000 years ago, the Roman Empire, that we had really trackable, and the Chinese empires and the Indian empires, where we had trackable economies if you really wanted to look hard enough at the archaeological data. So anyway, I'm not getting into that stuff.
Professor Don. That's very helpful.
Question time on Talking Real Money.
And you can send these. You get so many of the called ones. They sound great on the podcast you do with the questions, which airs every Friday.
Coming in over the internet and through people's.
Remarkable.
Buy a good mic for your computer.
Oh, come on. Or just use the mic on your computer. It's okay.
It's pretty crappy. Get a decent one. You spend $100 and get a decent mic.
You got to know how to plug it in.
It's a USB plug.
Oh, okay. I guess I could do that.
I'm sorry. I forgot. Yeah, Tom, after this is over, Tom's going to go out and because he's going to go hitch the horse to the buggy.
I'll be home in a couple hours, honey.
At least now he has the droppings bag behind the horse. He didn't used to have that. So
they don't let me drive through without it. This comes from John in Lodi, California. Hello, Tom and Don. I'm a longtime listener. John has 5 grandchildren, 5 years old and younger. I have separate brokerage account with Fidelity where I transfer $1,000 on each one's birthday each year. Oh, that's just great. Mm-hmm. I hear you give advice about the different alphabet mutual funds, ETFs, but I never go back and listen and write them down. I'm willing to be aggressive with this account as the money will be there for 25 to 30 years. Which 1, 2, or 3 mutual funds or ETFs would you recommend I move this money into? Small cap value and international are fine with me. Again, this is 5 grandchildren, 5 years old and younger in a brokerage account.
Yeah,
not
so no
a
matter what
529.
no matter what you do, they're not going to be upset. So if we totally mess this up, they're not going to care.
Well, plus by the time they're 25, they're going to be hard to find us. So anyway,
so it won't matter. That's why I'm counting on death to bail me out of a lot of bad decisions.
Exactly.
No.
1, 2, or 3 mutual funds or ETFs. What do you vote for?
I would just go broad. I wouldn't even, Paul would probably say go with a small cap value fund like AVUV. Is that the one?
Yeah, I think that's risky because that's one asset class for.
Yeah, I agree too. I would just go AVGE. That would be my one.
If you want to get fancier, you could go AVGE for like 80% and 20% in AVUV.
One fund.
He said 1, 2, or 3. 1, 2, or 3.
But one. You want to go simpler.
I'm with you. AVGE. It's
because
easy.
AVGE tilts small. Yeah. It tilts value anyway.
This is a global equity fund. It holds thousands of stocks. It does it at a very low cost. It'll be fairly tax efficient for a long period of time, which is important because, again, this is not, remember, if it was in a 529, you wouldn't be concerned about the taxation, which is another question I would have for John.
But you're not going to be that concerned about the taxation anyway because they're kids and there won't be much in the way of income.
There shouldn't be. But I guess my question to John would be, why not split the difference and do half in a 529 and half in a brokerage account? Because remember, the money from the 529 can go right into their Roth IRA at some point.
That's why I was going to say, why have it in a brokerage account at all? Why not put all of it into a 529, at least for now, at least for the next few years, because you get the advantage of this long-term growth. Then, and the nice thing about this money is that it can be used, the primary purpose, it can be used for pre-secondary education.
Yep, that's right.
It can be used for all manner of secondary education, including trade schools and apprenticeship programs now. So there are so many options for the kids to get training in whatever it is they plan to do with the rest of their life. And then on top of all that, the $35,000 that can get them started in a Roth IRA. I've run numbers with all kinds of assumptions.
$2 million you said, or something, right?
And depending on what you assume, if you really safe yield, okay, 7%. It'll only be a few $100,000.
Oh,
but
okay.
If you assume a 7 or an 8%, which look at history,
you
look at and you're talking real money.
Yeah.
No, that's not the cue to stop the show. No. Okay.
They the music to cart away your microphone there just for a moment.
I said talking real money.
The opinions
no, it's not the end of the show.
Not yet. Close.
Okay. Anyway.
All right.
Pretty soon you're talking millions there.
Thank you.
Is that better?
There you go, John. There's a one exchange traded fund and also a suggestion on maybe dividing that money up if you insist on the brokerage. But as Don said, in today's world, it's hard to imagine why you wouldn't do the 529. All right, this comes from Mike in Plant City, Florida. So is there like a plant located there?
No, Plant City is strawberry country.
Ah, okay.
They grow most of the strawberries that you see in February, March, April, particularly in the East Coast, comes out of Plant City, Florida.
I've gotten so spoiled lately that because the ones that come out of my garden are just so good compared to the stuff you get in the store, which I find abhorrent.
And they have the Strawberry Festival every year, I think in February. Okay. It's a big deal. Okay. They bring in country stars from all the biggest country stars in the land, and a big fair, and you can get all those fried things. I wonder if they do fried strawberries.
Probably.
That might be good.
They fry everything. All right. Mike wants to know, what is the best practice to have dividends and capital gains go to cash in an IRA or reinvest? He says, I'm currently going to cash and then draw the money from the money market funds for required minimum distributions.
That my answer was going to be, it depends on where you are in life.
Exactly.
If you are not yet retired, then the money should always be reinvested.
Yep.
It's just automatic, and then you compound. But when you get to retirement and you're starting to take money out, then the first money you should take out is the distributed money on which you're going to have to pay taxes anyway, unless it's in an IRA, and unless it's in a Roth. I would leave it in the Roth, but in a regular IRA, I'd take it and spend it just like you're doing.
Now, remember that over the long haul, it's still a better philosophy. It's ended up making you more money rather than piling up the dividends to still reinvest them, rebalance the portfolio, use those for that purpose, and pay yourself out of that. But you're right. In some cases, you just say, I'm going to need the money in a month or 2 months, whatever it is, move the money over.
Monthly spending money, you just take
Correct.
it. Then you don't have transactions to deal with.
That's true.
It's just simpler. So yeah, that was an easy one. And
spend your money. Spend your money.
Buy some strawberries. Well, no, it's not February yet. I bet the guy eats a lot of strawberries.
Really? Because I don't think we get ours till June or something.
It's Florida.
That must be the case. Okay.
I mean, think about it. We can't grow strawberries in the summer here. It was so funny. Just a little aside. We were up in Asheville helping my mom out, and we went by the farmer's market, which is just a few blocks from the nursing home where she is, and they had all these beautiful mountains of North Carolina flowers. They're grown in the mountains. They're pretty. It was the season for them. Beautiful potted flowers. And I said, Deb, I just don't think those will do well in Florida, but she insisted on buying those North Carolina mountain flowers. Well, we got them back here within like a week. They were just, wilted. They went, it's too hot in Florida. And they died. Yeah. So
that's too bad.
Rest in peace, flowers.
Okay.
Good thing they weren't that expensive.
Good thing. Anyway, because this is a show about money, right? So
right. So I wanted to get the money aspect in. They weren't that expensive. All right, everybody. Tom and others are available. They are at your beck and call. That's another one of those sayings that,
you got to look it up. I don't know where that comes from. You figure that out while I tell them how we're always at your beck and call. You can call us, yes, 800-386-3004, 800-386-3004. Yeah, we'll give you an hour of our time looking at your portfolio, looking at your plan, making suggestions, helping you get on with your life. Just talked to a great young guy, 37 years old, rebuilt his 401k, showed him where to put his Roth money, and on you go. Just love doing that kind of stuff. Or if it's more convenient or less threatening than a phone call, you can go to talkingrealmoney.com, click on Meet an Advisor. Talkingrealmoney.com, click on Meet an Advisor. So where's the beck and call?
Okay, beck is an abbreviation for the word beckon.
Beckon.
So it's
that
beck
makes sense.
And call. Now, some people say it wrong because that's what we do in America. Like, for example, we were our homeowners association board was trying to censure someone, and somebody posted on social media. Well, why are they trying to censor them?
Oh, yeah, right.
They misspelled censor. They misspelled censor. No, they didn't. It was censure. Dummies.
Big difference.
Well, some people say it's beck and call.
How did the vote go?
BECKON call. No, it's beck and call, and beck is just an abbreviation for beckon. There you go.
How'd the vote go on the censure?
Oh, I spoke. I got up and said, just you guys, this is the most dysfunctional HOA board I've ever seen in my life.
What is this, the House of Representatives or something?
Would you guys grow up? I said, really, this is embarrassing. They wanted to censure him and then punish him for saying something.
Right there with the lash, or what were they going with, the stockade?
They had the meeting on a day he couldn't be there.
Perfect. Couldn't defend himself.
And I said, I'm a former president of this board, and you guys are an embarrassment to the community. Yeah. And then right after that, and my wife spoke, the president of the board said, okay, maybe we'll just say we disagree with what he said. Said, that'd be nice. Yeah, that's
not very American today's world. I think the stockade should come out immediately. So
can't we just get along, people?
Yeah.
Can't we just get along? All right. Did you do all the stuff?
I did while you were beckoning and calling people. I handled the tough stuff.
Once again, you already know. I'm Don. That's Tom. What do? We talk real money. Now you can turn it.
The opinions and views expressed on this podcast were current on the date recorded. Opinions, estimates, forecasts, and statements of financial market trends that are based on current market conditions constitute our judgment and are subject to change without notice, including any forward-looking estimates or statements which are based on certain expectations and assumptions. Although information and opinions given have been obtained from or based on sources believed to be reliable, no warranty or representation is made as to their correctness, completeness, or accuracy. Information presented on the podcast is not personalized investment advice from Appella Wealth. The views and strategies described may not be suitable for everyone. This podcast does not identify all the risks, direct or indirect, or other considerations which might be material to you when entering any financial transaction. Past performance does not guarantee future results, and profitable results cannot be guaranteed. We hope you realize that the information provided on Talking Real Money is for informational, educational, and hopefully enjoyable purposes only. The podcast is not trying to get you to buy or sell any financial products or securities. Instead, the program is provided as a public service by Appella Wealth, a fee-only registered investment advisor. Please see Appella Wealth's ADV Part 2A on our website for information regarding Appella's fees and services. Appella Capital, LLC, DBA Appella Wealth, is an investment advisory firm registered with the Securities and Exchange Commission. The firm only transacts business in the states where it is properly registered or excluded or exempt from registration requirements. Registration with the SEC or any state securities authority does not imply a certain level of skill or training. Appella does not provide tax or legal advice, and nothing either stated or implied here should be inferred as providing such advice. Thanks for listening, and please visit TalkingRealMoney.com for more information and important disclosure related to performance of any specific index or fund quoted in this podcast. Is anybody still listening?